Northeast Portland has always been home for Shannon Normington. He was born here, grew up in the neighborhood, and bought this house more than a decade ago. The 46-year-old has worked hard to fix things up and make it a comfortable place for he and his teenage son.
It's just a great place to hang out, and it just would be a shame if I would have to move because of the tax.
But rising property taxes have pushed Shannon to the brink. He's struggling to stay in his home.
It's too bad that home ownership is the one thing that's kind of breaking me with the property tax.
Shannon was injured while deployed in Iraq.
I got, shot in the stomach and blown up.
The Army veteran is now reliant on VA disability pay, a good chunk of which goes toward his nearly $9,000 a year property tax bill.
I have no way to increase my earnings, and I have no way to challenge the tax. So I'm just stuck kind of trying to tread water and provide for my kid.
For more than 100 years, Oregon has honored its disabled veterans with a property tax exemption. In fact, the original state law applied to veterans of the Civil War, the Indian Wars, the Spanish-American War, and other distant conflicts. The law has been modified a few times, including significant changes in 2005. But generally speaking, critics argue it hasn't kept up with soaring property values. In short, the property tax break for disabled veterans in Oregon has become less and less.
When the property values escalated in the 70s and the 80s, there was no mechanism to keep the exemption in check with those property value increases.
Steve Bates is chair of the Vietnam Veterans of America Committee on Memorials and Remembrance.
These guys aren't being treated the way that we used to treat veterans.
For example, in 1975, the exemption in Oregon was $7,500. The average home value in Portland at the time was roughly $30,000, which meant disabled veterans got a 25% deduction in property taxes. Compare that to 2022, when the current deduction for disabled veterans is $28,000, which means on the average home in the Portland area, which exceeds $500,000, the property tax deduction for disabled veterans is now only 5%.
The exemption hasn't changed, and that's why I'm asking to increase it.
Over the years, there have been attempts at the state legislature to increase the property tax breaks for disabled veterans, but those proposals didn't go anywhere.
What is it that's preventing this from going forward?
Cash flow.
Cash flow.
The taxing districts that the counties collect for, every dime that is pulled away from them is a dime that they can't spend in their budget. So I do believe that that's the biggest concern.
Critics have argued a loss in property tax revenue could impact local budgets, especially for smaller counties, and reduce school funding. The question is, don't we owe it to our veterans, especially at a time when so many are struggling?
I mean, there's a fair amount of people that fought for this country that we see out there on the streets.
Shannon Normington admits he could sell his home and move to a lower tax neighborhood. But this is where he grew up and where his son attends school. He's invested in the community after having served our country.